either Lake Lorraine has 7 inlets from stormwater input, and Lake Jean has 9, or vice versa, but there is water that flows into our lakes that could influence our lakes as much as Stonebrook's flow could.
Right. So I think that part of the scope of this grant, if we were to get it, is to, like I said, analyze a representation of stormwater coming into both lakes, because, you know, there are, let's say, a dozen outfalls into the lake, so we would sample a few of those that would represent that type of Twin Lake typical watershed, so we get an idea of what the loading would be from the
Okay.
phosphorus.
You made it clear that you were not responsible or engaged in the 2 lakes, but you're engaged in Joe's Creek, correct? The flow of Joe's Creek beyond the Twin Lakes golf course area is of concern to the city, is it not?
Maybe Will can maybe better define what our charge is for the surface water utility.
So Joe's Creek is a natural conveyance system, and
Linking the 2 lakes.
right. I mean, it's basically the water course for the watershed. So everything that falls in the watershed ends up in Joe's Creek, and along that path, either ends up in Marine or both or none. So the surface water utility is concerned about all the water that falls within that watershed, and we're obviously concerned about that input into Joe's Creek. Now, Joe's Creek itself is private. I mean, the city doesn't own Joe's Creek. The properties that Joe's Creek flows through probably have ownership of the underlying land. I'm not exactly sure what the state law is in Washington with respect to whether you can walk down the whole creek. I think you can if it's of a certain depth or width or something of that nature, and they can't shoot you as a trespasser. But I think when you start looking at a creek the size of Joe's Creek, it becomes private. It's essentially private property. So we are concerned about all the stormwater infrastructure inputs into Joe's Creek. The city is the one that has developed stormwater infrastructure. We've developed stormwater infrastructure to prevent roads from flooding. We've developed stormwater infrastructure to protect our other infrastructure that we enjoy and utilize within the city. We don't have a whole lot of control over whether someone dumps something in our infrastructure. So this goes back to this lawsuit issue of how do you point blank, because nobody in the city puts phosphorus in our system. I can guarantee you that. We do not go out and see our system with phosphorus. We do not put oil in it. We don't put trash or anything else in it. It's the users of the infrastructure that end up contributing that to the system that we've developed to convey water, clean water, hopefully is what we want, into the natural drainage systems and then to the sound ultimately. So I'm not sure whether I answered your question, but so our tasking is to maintain our systems to the highest level possible to ensure that clean water is going into those natural conveyance systems ultimately into the sound. That's really what the tasking is for the stormwater utility.
I would just try to be quiet and say that after the September meeting, there was a rep here from the Federal News. She wrote an article that appeared in the paper. She sort of summarized where our concerns were. Certainly, if we're successful in getting this grant, another excavate in the newspaper might be helpful for educating the public beyond ourselves.
And that's agreed. One of the big elements that we've targeted in this grant funding, if we're successful in obtaining the grant, one of the larger elements where we're going to be directing those resources, that money, is towards education and outreach. I mean, that's a critical part of this. If people within the watershed double check what they're doing in the watershed, think twice about some of their actions, we can hopefully reduce phosphorus floating. We may not eliminate it, because we may not be able to pinpoint all the sources, but we may be able to dramatically reduce it to where it is something that's manageable from a lake management standpoint on a yearly basis, where you're not having to combat levels that are so high. So education and outreach is a huge piece. You know, the investigation of the infrastructure to make sure that there's no cross connections with sanitary coming into the storm lines, to make sure that our system is in the best shape that it can be in. We have a maintenance program that we do within the city. So what Dan showed you in terms of that piping network that we're going through and actually looking at, I mean, that's a very detailed assessment of the system. We're running cameras down the system. That speaks nothing to what we do on an annual basis, just in terms of cleaning and regular maintenance. So we're coming into the watershed, and we're actually, and we're doing this all over the city, but we're looking at the Twin Lakes watershed, the Joe's Creek watershed first because of this issue. So we're moving our resources into that and giving it a higher priority to do the investigation of the system, to make sure that, you know, there are no cross connections, that that the system is in good shape. We're not bringing a lot of sediments into the system that will be loading Lake Woody and causing issues with water depth and that sort of thing. So and education outreach is paramount. That's key.
You just mentioned sediment flowing into Joe's Creek. Does the city enforce the Wetlands Act in as far as reducing that sediment on an owner that doesn't?
Yes.
That doesn't?
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
have a particular area in mind at the end of Joe's Creek that was denuded, and it's never been replanted.
And that's something that, yeah, please make us aware of that. So if there's activities that homeowners are doing where they denude large area and there's evidence of sediments coming off of that property into the city system, we will address that directly with the owner. We will essentially start with education outreach and try to provide them the information they need to correct it. But at the end of the day, if they refuse to, and it continues, we would go all the way through a fine process. And we've done that. And Dan has done an excellent job of really ratcheting up that enforcement piece of it. So yes, we do address sediment. We address sediment flows from construction sites. You know, when we see something on the streets that is out of place, we don't just drive by. It gets called in. Dan gets called out many times. Look at what it is.
My question is, maybe I'm not approaching this correctly because I have a intention of the city.
Oh, yeah. We've,
Is that one thing?
That's the inlet to the, I think there's like kind of a couple of issues here. I think we talked about the issue of planting to stabilize soils, but Will was kind of touching on more of our stormwater enforcement, and unless I see, you know, runoff where it's a plume of turbidity coming into the creek, that's where we step in. But I think first we need to kind of address the
yeah, and I think if it's the issue I think you're referring to, we're working on that. I believe it was the HOA that did the work. Yeah. Staff person working on that. We have some back and forth communication with the HOA. For a while, nothing happened. Last time I saw you, you pointed that out to me. So we reinitiated our work to correct that problem.
I thought maybe I'm supposed to be trying to be on board for my name on everything that I do.
Yeah.
So I'll just reiterate, the education and outreach piece is absolutely, it's
You know, I think the bottom line here goes that when we moved in here, we only had a couple cars, 2 cars to work on. Okay? Now the neighbors have 4 or 5 cars. Now we got the other communities all around here. This place has changed. They got their cars, I had a question, I was gonna ask a question, I put moss killer on my roof, now, can I do that? Because that drains down. And you multiply this by the amount of people that have moved in. And we're gonna end up paying for those people over at Stone Brook and every place else. We're gonna have to have some kind of lake management just to keep alive. But that won't do much good until we get the education and outreach to stop people from doing the things that we should not be doing. So we're killing ourselves, everybody, you know, around the lake, up the hills. We gotta learn to do things better. I think your approach is.
That's the key piece. And the good thing is with the grant, if we're successful, a large portion of that $66,000 will be directed at the education outreach within specifically this watershed. So on top of the education outreach that we do citywide, we focus within the watershed. So, and that's long term. I mean, it takes time to see results.
Any more? Okay, good. That wraps it up. Thanks for coming. Please take a minute to fill out your little survey sheet. Decide whether we should do some of these again. So.